North Korean soldiers attempting to use AK-47s to attack Ukrainian armored vehicles. Yes, you heard that right, a rifle designed over half a century ago being deployed against a modern combat machine, fortified with heavy armor and superior firepower. The result? A complete disaster. Picture this scene, a group of North Korean soldiers, recklessly defiant, placing their hopes in their AK-47s. Bullets whiz through the air, only to produce futile ting-ting sounds against the thick armor of Ukraine's striker. Then, almost as if it had no patience for the theatrics, the armored vehicle plowed straight through their fragile defense line, leaving chaos and defeat in its wake. This incident highlights not only the staggering disparity in equipment and tactics between the two sides, but also the utter failure in North Korea's preparation and command. But this is just the surface of the story. In Kursk Oblast, where Russia aims to prevent Ukrainian forces from securing strategic areas like the village of Soldat, the tension is escalating. If Ukraine seizes control of this region, it will not only solidify their position, but also turn it into a logistical hub, complicating and increasing the cost of Russian counterattacks. The houses in Soldat, Koya, and surrounding areas would become ideal hideouts for Ukrainian soldiers, allowing them to disperse and enhance their ability to withstand attacks. To stop this, Russian commanders hastily redeployed North Korean forces from Novonova and Krina in the eastern salient to frontline positions. However, this decision only underscored their desperation, as they relied on inexperienced foreign units to bolster their already severely weakened forces. These North Korean soldiers, under ineffective leadership, were thrust into a counteroffensive role on short notice to slow Ukraine's advance. But in reality, the meat grinder tactics, ones that failed miserably in the Korean War, merely turned them into easy targets for Ukrainian artillery and drones. By December 16, 2024, the first reports of North Korean casualties in Kursk Oblast began to surface. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky confirmed the involvement of North Korean troops in the area, with significant losses reported. By December 23rd, the death toll had risen to over 3,000, one-fourth of the 12,000 North Korean soldiers deployed. These numbers not only highlighted their battlefield failures, but also underscored the brutal conditions they faced. Within just 1 week, by December 27th, an additional 1,000 soldiers had been killed or injured. While South Korean reports were more conservative, estimating around 1,100 casualties, both sources agreed that the toll was climbing at an alarming rate, with no signs of improvement in the near future. The disparity in figures did nothing to change the grim reality. North Korean soldiers were being thrown into a war for which they were ill-prepared, and their outdated tactics only worsened the situation. The tragedy at Kursk stands as stark evidence of poor preparation, ineffective leadership, and misguided decisions that turned them into target practice on the battlefield. Despite the heavy losses, Kim Jong-un continues to send more troops to the Kursk Oblast battlefield, as if every North Korean soldier were merely a disposable pawn in his political chess game. To Kim, it seems the lives of thousands of soldiers are a small price to pay for lucrative rewards from Moscow. Why is he so obstinate? The answer is simple: oil, weapons, and money. Since March 2024, Russia has provided North Korea with over 1 million barrels of oil, double the limit imposed by international sanctions. This oil not only keeps North Korea's economy afloat, but also bolsters Kim's domestic standing, serving as a lifeline for his regime under harsh sanctions. But oil is just the tip of the iceberg. Russia has also supplied North Korea with advanced military technologies such as air defense systems, satellite technologies, and modern fighter jets like the MiG-29 and Su-27. These gifts not only enable Kim to modernize his military, but also allow him to paint a vision of a stronger, more self-reliant North Korea. However, this relationship is not one-sided. Russia gets exactly what it needs most from North Korea: ammunition. It is estimated that around 60% of Russia's current ammunition supply comes from North Korea, including sophisticated rockets and advanced artillery. With this massive influx of weapons, Russia can continue its war efforts, while Kim pockets an enormous profit of up to $5.5 billion. For a regime perpetually starved for cash, this money is a lifeline, a price Kim is all too willing to pay with the blood of his own people. The economic and military benefits from Russia may bring a sly smile to Kim Jong-un's face in private meetings, but they cannot hide the brutal, ruthless reality on the battlefield. North Korean soldiers are being thrown into the fray with meat grinder tactics, essentially collective suicide disguised as combat. Lacking artillery support and armored vehicles, they charge across open fields like lambs to the slaughter, facing Ukraine's deadly UAVs and precision artillery. The result? A merciless massacre. The catastrophic scenes don't stop there. When confronted with Ukraine's UAVs and omnipresent terror on the battlefield, North Korean soldiers often panic and scatter, effectively turning themselves into glowing, neon targets. A few chaotic steps are all it takes for Ukraine's artillery systems to zero in and obliterate entire units within minutes. But don't think their tactics have hit the peak of absurdity. Beyond recklessly charging into deadly fields, North Korea devised a brilliant plan dubbed the live bait strategy. The idea? Send one soldier out to act as bait for Ukraine's UAVs, while the rest of the group hides in ambush, waiting to take down the device. Unfortunately for them, Ukraine is far from naive. Rather than falling into the trap, Ukrainian UAVs swiftly locate the entire ambush group and retaliate with devastating precision, wiping them out on the spot. One particularly embarrassing example of failure is a video showing a Ukrainian Stryker armored vehicle from the 80th Air Assault Brigade running over North Korean soldiers when it ran out of ammunition. Yes, you heard that correctly. Out of ammo. Ukraine's tactical response required nothing more than armored wheels. This cold, decisive move not only highlighted Ukraine's tactical superiority, but also exposed the desperation, backwardness, and lack of skill of North Korean troops. In Kursk, every North Korean soldier seems to be nothing more than a pawn in the game Kim Jong-un and Putin are playing. Helpless prey awaiting the inevitable. They lack equipment, skills, and fighting spirit, and even their tactics are little more than clumsy imitations of historical failures. The most tragic truth of all is undeniable. To Kim Jong-un, the lives of these soldiers hold no more value than barrels of oil and outdated weapons. This is not just a tragedy of the battlefield, but a profound indictment of human dignity itself. The failure of North Korean troops in Kursk Oblast comes as no surprise when examining their poor preparation and the irresponsible manner in which they were deployed to the battlefield. From the outset, training at home failed to equip soldiers with the necessary skills to confront modern warfare. Outdated techniques and tactics, such as relying on AK-47s, left them ill-prepared to survive in a complex combat environment, where factors like UAVs, electronic warfare, and maneuver strategies play decisive roles. Their inability to counter Ukraine's UAV threats, combined with panic and lack of organization, made them easy targets. To make matters worse, training under Russian units, such as the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, already discredited for violating international laws, further exacerbated the situation. North Korean soldiers were not taught to implement modern tactics, and the absence of effective guidance reduced them to disposable pawns on the battlefield. They marched into battles with blind confidence, but lacked the ability to handle real-world situations, leading to catastrophic failures. The harsh weather conditions in Kursk Oblast acted as an unrelenting adversary. With temperatures plunging to -20°C, snow-covered terrain, and biting winds, the combat environment became an insurmountable challenge for those without proper gear or survival skills. Yet, North Korean forces were sent with inadequate uniforms, lacking warm clothing, waterproof boots, and essential equipment to endure the freezing cold. Moving through deep snow slowed their advance, making them easy targets for Ukraine's precision attacks. In one skirmish near B-Soldat village, North Korean troops fell victim to their own inadequacies. As they struggled to cross a snow-covered field, they were bombarded relentlessly by Ukrainian artillery and UAVs. Their lack of preparation and combat experience in such extreme conditions left them unable to respond in time, resulting in heavy casualties before they could even reach their objectives. To add to their woes, food shortages further deteriorated the situation. Starving soldiers, drained of energy and morale, could barely sustain the will to fight, let alone confront the battlefield's harsh realities. A starving, freezing, and poorly trained army thrust into modern warfare. This was not just a tactical error, but a blatant disregard for human life by both Russia and North Korea. What could possibly make this failure worse? Language barriers, lack of coordination between Russian and North Korean forces, or sheer recklessness in strategic planning by both nations likely played a role. Regardless of the reasons, one thing is clear. North Korean troops not only failed on the battlefield, but were also failed by the way they were utilized and treated. What are your thoughts? Share your perspective in the comments below. In light of the disastrous failures and mounting casualties among North Korean forces in Kursk Oblast, Putin and the Russian government chose not to improve their strategy or adopt more humane treatment of their allies. Instead, Russia made desperate efforts to conceal the presence of North Korean troops, a move as futile as it was ruthless. Russia has implemented a series of measures to erase any trace of North Korean troops on the battlefield. Among the most shocking actions is the cremation of North Korean soldiers' bodies to conceal their identities and prevent evidence of their involvement from surfacing. Beyond this, Russia has systematically erased all videos capturing North Korean soldiers in combat, or, more accurately, failing on the battlefield. Every image, every piece of evidence was extinguished as though these soldiers had never existed. However, these efforts at camouflage did not escape the scrutiny of the international community. On December 16, 2024, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky publicly exposed Russia's inhumane actions on the social media platform X, formerly Twitter. In a shocking post, Zelensky not only accused Russia of incinerating the faces of deceased North Korean soldiers to erase their identities, but also shared video evidence of these actions. The footage depicted the brutal reality: charred bodies and desperate attempts to cover up failure. The mounting international criticism further embarrassed Putin and Russia. During the annual Direct Line press conference in December, lasting a staggering 4.5 hours, Putin conspicuously avoided mentioning North Korean troops. This conspicuous silence, from a leader known for leveraging opportunities to assert control over the narrative, spoke volumes. It revealed not just Russia's loss of control over managing North Korea's involvement, but also a lack of transparency and accountability in its treatment of allies, or more aptly, pawns in this conflict. Russia's treatment of North Korean soldiers in Kursk Oblast raises serious ethical questions and threatens to destabilize the already unequal relationship between the two nations. From North Korea's perspective, the families of the fallen soldiers are likely to feel outrage as news emerges of Russia cremating their loved ones to hide its failures. In a country where loyalty to the leader is paramount, Russia's blatant disregard for their lives could sow discord within North Korea. If this discontent spreads, Kim Jong-un may face mounting pressure from both the military and the public, jeopardizing the regime's stability. Nevertheless, driven by ambitions to bolster his international standing and reap massive economic benefits from Russia, Kim Jong-un may continue to gamble by sending additional troops. However, the rising casualties could pose significant domestic political challenges, eroding trust among his generals and weakening his grip on power. For Russia, relying on a vulnerable ally like North Korea underscores Moscow's dwindling resources. This reliance is a glaring indicator of the significant difficulties Russia faces in maintaining its combat forces across multiple fronts. Russia's meat grinder strategy, supported by the professional troops of North Korea, is a textbook example of military failure at its finest. Sending soldiers who have never encountered UAVs into high-risk operations without any support could only lead to massive casualties and utter chaos. It seems Moscow has discovered a unique formula: turn allies into target practice while celebrating strategic advances that last mere hours before being pushed back. But no worries, everything is under control. North Korean troops, watching their comrades fall like autumn leaves and abandoned without hesitation, can still console themselves with the belief that they're contributing to a greater goal. Meanwhile, Russian soldiers, forced to coordinate with what can only be described as amateur forces, must be silently marveling at their leadership's brilliance. After all, nothing fosters unity like collaborating with allies who scatter at the sound of a UAV. this collapse in morale won't be limited to the battlefield. For Russian troops, every failure alongside North Korea serves as a vivid reminder of the Kremlin's lack of strategic foresight. For North Korean soldiers, every step across a snow-covered field is a painful lesson that they are mere pawns sacrificed for Kim Jong-un's quest for oil and weapons. And what of national image? Russia, a self-proclaimed military powerhouse, now relies on subpar forces like North Korea to plug gaps in its ranks. It's akin to fielding a youth soccer team in the Premier League and hoping for a win, a bold move, but far from a smart strategy. As for North Korea, deploying troops abroad to suffer massive casualties only erodes confidence in Kim Jong-un's regime, no matter how much oil or how many MiG-29s he uses to obscure the truth. The ultimate consequence of this well-coordinated partnership isn't just the loss of lives, but a severe blow to the world's trust in both nations. Russia and North Korea haven't merely failed on the battlefield, they've isolated themselves further, becoming international laughingstocks. A grand victory, but only in the game of strategic blunders. Faced with this situation, the next steps for Kim Jong-un and Putin are a fascinating conundrum, as both are trapped by their poor decisions with no easy way out. For Putin, Russia's continued reliance on North Korea seems less a strategic choice and more a lack of alternatives. With Russia's military suffering heavy losses, Putin can hardly refuse even North Korea's feeble assistance. Finding new allies under current conditions is like searching for a needle in a haystack. No country is eager to risk getting involved in the quagmire Russia has created. As for Kim Jong-un, he faces a difficult decision. Continue sending troops to secure oil and military technology from Russia, or pull back in the face of mounting domestic pressure. For a leader accustomed to disregarding human life, the odds are high that he will keep gambling his soldiers to maintain the flow of benefits from Moscow. However, the growing casualties could gradually undermine his position, as North Korea's military and citizens begin to realize they are dying for distant goals that bring no real benefits to their country. On the battlefield of Kursk Oblast, Ukraine has wasted no time capitalizing on the failures of Russia and North Korea. With superior tactics and equipment, Ukraine is able to exploit the demoralized state of its opponents to launch precision strikes. Russia's reliance on North Korean troops, who lack experience and organization, only adds to the strain on its defensive lines. Ukrainian offensives can focus on positions held by North Korean soldiers, where their lack of tactical acumen and coordination makes them easy targets. Furthermore, Ukraine can successfully deploy trap tactics previously used to devastating effect, such as feigned retreats to lure North Korean forces into ambush zones, followed by UAV and artillery strikes. Given the harsh weather conditions in Kursk, the unpreparedness and lack of survival skills among North Korean troops only make them more vulnerable. If Ukraine continues to increase pressure, Russia risks losing complete control of Kursk Oblast. Such a defeat would not only be a military blow, but also a devastating strike to the Kremlin's credibility across the entire front. At that point, Putin would face not just Western pressure, but mounting instability within Russia itself. And what happens when both leaders, Putin and Kim Jong-un, are cornered? One thing is certain, neither will admit fault, instead shifting blame onto anyone but themselves. But will this blame game be enough to salvage their positions, or will it only deepen the quagmire? Time will tell. Looking at the unfolding events in Kursk Oblast, one cannot help but feel a sense of bitterness for the North Korean soldiers, individuals thrust into an unfamiliar battlefield to become nothing more than target practice for Ukraine's UAVs and precision artillery. They are under-equipped, unsupported, and most tragically, utterly disposable in the eyes of those who sent them there. To Kim Jong-un, every soldier's death is a barrel of oil, a piece of military technology to sustain his regime. To Putin, they are free manpower, meat machines, to prolong a war that is increasingly stagnating. However, this war is not just a tragedy for North Korean soldiers or a strategic failure for Russia. It is a painful reminder of the cost of greed and blind political ambition. Every misstep on the battlefield only deepens the isolation of both Russia and North Korea on the global stage. But the larger question remains, do any of these leaders truly care about the consequences? Or will they continue to ignore the mounting losses in pursuit of short-term gains? Do you believe Russia and North Korea's actions in Kursk Oblast are signs of irreversible decline or merely a temporary setback in their strategic plans? Do you think Kim Jong-un will keep sending troops regardless of the cost? And if you were an international leader, how would you handle this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to follow us to stay updated on the latest developments from the battlefield. See you in the next video.